when Brian and I were first doing this podcast and we were doing it on like Ustream, we would have 200 viewers. And I wasn't doing it for money. I was literally doing it because my wife had gotten pregnant. We had to move from Colorado back to LA, and I was bummed out. I was like, fuck, I thought I escaped. I thought I got out of LA. I was living in the mountains. I was like, this is what I want. I want to be in nature. I was like, I don't want to be back in this fucking hellhole. Like, all right, let's do something. And so we started doing podcasts just for a goof, because I was doing stand-up. That was all well and good.
But look at how it tied into your stand-up so nicely.
Yeah,
you know?
But my point is, it didn't start out, I didn't start out thinking, this is going to replace my income. This is going to be, I just did it as a passion project. And I think if people have a regular day job, if you could just find one thing that you do as a passion project and just keep building on it, just keep watering it, keep adding fertilizer, keep giving it attention, keep giving it focus, and you can escape. You can escape, and you can be self-serving. You could be okay. You're going to be okay. I think the revolution can be a revolution of action and ideas. And I think that there's a ton of people out there that are probably listening to this that would like to be able to do something else.
Absolutely.
Whether it's make furniture.
Well, they don't want a revolution. Right. They want to do something that's not soulful.
Yeah, if you make furniture, you make furniture for a living, and you feel a great satisfaction out of that, and you sell that furniture. Look, man, making furniture feels good. If you can do that, you could cut those corners perfectly and sand everything down nice and stain it, and then it's done, and you get the satisfaction, and you sell it to someone, and that pays your bills. That is infinitely more satisfying than being stuck in some fucking cubicle working for someone that you don't want to work for, having to have these stupid fucking office meetings, talking to people in human resources, sitting down with your supervisor where they evaluate your job performance, and you're not really, you really need to be enthusiastic about this company. This company is your future. You're like, fuck, kill me now. There's a lot of people out there that would way rather do something else, and I hope they understand that they can. It's never been easier to have a website either.
No.
Easier with companies like Squarespace. You could develop a website. You could literally build an amazing website in a fucking
sell
hour.
your furniture,
and you have a free online store with it. And they have these drag and drop user interfaces. You use photos, you drag them onto there, size it in place. Boom. Next thing you know, you've got a website. Sell your furniture. Sell whatever the fuck you make. Whether you make clothes or you're designing backpacks, or there's a lot of people out there that have interests and they've never pursued those interests because they're fucking tired from doing boring, soul-sucking job.
It's hard.
If you look at someone who's doing really well, like say if you focus on like Kevin Hart or someone like that, some very famous and successful comedian, all you see is him now flying around private jets, wearing a new pair of sneakers every day, driving around in Bentleys. You just see that. And authors, it takes place in comedians and musicians. There is a starting point, and then with time and focus, and as long as you reevaluate and reassess and constantly objectively look at what you're doing and then pursue it with passion and focus, you get better at things.
And you know what? Doing all
people say, oh, well, today it's saturated. No, it's not, stupid. You just do something that's good. Stop saying it's saturated. If you're good, it'll stand out. This idea that, oh, it's easy for you to say. Everybody's got these stupid barriers they put in their own head. You got to resist those goddamn things because they don't do you any good, and they certainly define the potential for your future in a negative way that's not self-serving, and it's not even real. You put this artificial ceiling on the potential for what you're doing. If you hit a wall, okay, that just means you need to regroup and rethink. It doesn't mean that wall's there, especially when it comes to something like social media or like a podcast, something where you're putting out a piece of art, you're putting out something that you've created. There's no wall as far as like how many people are going to enjoy it or how far it's going to go. It's just, it is what it is. And if people don't like it, make it better. If they like it less, fix that. Figure out a way to do it. You can do that. And this idea that there's no way to get past the starting block today is just ludicrous. It's crazy. And it's just this poor thinking. And people that are trapped in bad situations, one of the problems is you feel like this is your future. You feel like you're fucked and you can't get out of that. There's no hope. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no rainbow. To just try to make those things happen. You can do that. The more effort that I put in my life, whether it's exercise or particularly like running and yoga and martial arts and doing stand-up and doing podcast, the more I do those things, the more, because I'm creating my own struggle. And I feel like there's a lot of benefit in creating your own struggle rather than, like, if you see a lot of people that run into like a lot of struggle with life, just life in general, in terms of like relationships, friendships, and fallings out. A lot of that seems to me that people need a certain amount of conflict and a certain amount of struggle. And they create that struggle if they don't get it in some sort of an organic form. You know, if you're not at war with a neighboring tribe, or you're not worried about predators, you create this struggle with your girlfriend or with your buddies, or, you know, with people at work, your coworkers. The more I create my own struggle, the more I orchestrate it through training, through exercise, and I'm doing it to squeeze out all the excess energy and angst that my body might be putting off, that sort of confuses you about the real significance of interpersonal conflict and relationship conflict and work conflict. So much of it is like exaggerated by your own body's desire for some sort of action, something going on. So I've found that the more I do that myself, the less I have that in my everyday life. And then also I have to do all the shit I'm supposed to do. I have to do all the work, including family stuff. Like, I spend a lot of time with my family. I orchestrate it. And so watch, it says 4:30 in the morning, because that's when he gets up and he works out. And he earns the sunset. And he does that. He's so disciplined. And he's got this saying that's a great saying: discipline equals freedom. And it's true, because he's able to force himself to do that every single time. There's no excuses. There's no breaks. There's no days off. It doesn't happen.